Boston College's top recruit in the class of 2026 commits to UNC, but honestly, BC is still ruling the state of Massachusetts.
You are Locked On Boston College, your daily podcast on the Boston College Eagles, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. This is Locked On Boston College, your team every day. I'm your host, AJ Black of Eagle Insider. Thank you all who have made us your first listen to the every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. On today's show, basketball, another great victory, and I'm going to give them their flowers with another win over Georgia Tech at home on Senior Day. Additionally, we're going to look at a lot of recruiting news as recruiting buzz is starting to really heat up. We're going to look at the quarterback number 2 in the class of 2026 that I think BC could still land. And additionally, a recruit that was highly rated in the state of Massachusetts picks elsewhere. But I'm going to tell you why I think BC is still in amazing shape in the state and has done a great job in the class of 2026 to land the guys that they want. Now, let's kick this off. On Friday, Anthony Linneo Hall, also known as U-Hall, of Dexter Southfield, committed to UNC. He was down to UNC, Rutgers, and Tennessee. This is the number one, according to 247, recruit in the state. And BC was not in his final groupings. And I'm going to tell you right now, this was not a he picked over BC type of deal. Boston College had stopped recruiting him. They were going after other guys. There were other players they had highly ranked. So this was not a, BC lost to Bill Belichick type of thing because, Hall ended up selecting UNC. This was the top recruit, but they had other guys highly rated on their board. You're not going to go – I don't care about ratings. If you do your development, if you watch tape and you decide there's other guys I want more, it does no justice to your program if you go out and then just take that guy just because of what 247 ranks him. And I work for 247, and I'm telling you that right now. It's nice sometimes, but there's other players that you're going to want to get, and you can't just load up with players that are just ranked high that maybe you're seeing and going, he's not going to work out here. So, congratulations to UNC for landing Hall. And I'm sure that's for his family, that's a great thing for him. And I'm not here to disparage him or do anything like that. What I'm saying here is that Boston College has already landed 3 offensive linemen in the state of Massachusetts before this. Brady Beckenhuis, Dean Ruxnitis, and Marcelino or Mark Antunes of Catholic Memorial. So those 3 guys are already in. They can't take 1 million offensive linemen. They just can't. They can't take 7 of them. They're going to have to be able to pick and choose. And when you have, targets like Marky Walbridge of St. Sebastian's, who's out there, he's a 4-star that BC is in good shape. And I know they really value him and think of him as a very, blue chip recruit that they really want. He's one. Merrick Jen of New Hampshire, of Phillips Exeter. He's another one that they have, really looked at highly, and they're going to want to see if they can land him. If they have both of those guys higher on their board than U-Hall, then why would they take him? They can't. They can't take all these guys. So they got to be able to pick and choose who they want. And that's what they did. This decision to not recruit him and to not go that hard on him has been going on for months. This was before Bill Belichick ever took over at UNC. So this isn't, I'm saying this because I do not want you, as the viewers here, to look at this decision and say to yourself, Bill Belichick just went in and stole someone from Bill O'Brien, because that's not what happened. Okay? As someone who has been on the know of what's going on, that is not what happened. Bill Belichick won this, but BC was not ever part of this for the last 4 months. So do not think that the new head coach of the Tar Heels is just going to go pick and choose in Massachusetts, because that's not what's happening. If you pull up the class of 2026, top recruits in Massachusetts, it's, yeah, Hall's on the top with UNC, but it's BC, 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 because BC is getting the guys that they want. So you have to either trust what Bill O'Brien is doing, trust that his staff know who they're recruiting, or you don't. It's as simple as that. And not, these coaches, they're not going to just rely on 247, Rivals, On3, their rating scales, because that's not what they're doing. These guys are all, you look at the, Matt Applebaum, he was an NFL coach. You have Bill O'Brien, who's got multiple years under Bill Belichick. Jonathan DiBiase, a very good coach. These guys know what they're doing. And so when they don't go after a guy like this, there's a reason for it. There's other guys. Like I said, Merrick Jen, Marky Walbridge, Kai Pritchard in New Jersey. They're going to put their emphasis on those guys. So I still think Massachusetts, BC has done a fantastic job in the state of Massachusetts in 2026. They've targeted the guys that they wanted, and they have landed them. Now, there's two big ones, and they're the big ones that BC has to continue to recruit and win out. Marky Walbridge, who I brought up, he just received an offer from Ohio State this weekend. He has offers from Michigan, Notre Dame, Penn State. His recruitment is blowing up. This is a tough one because he is a guy that the staff really wants. And he would be, I go back to Drew Kendall. Remember when Drew Kendall, that whole recruitment, he had a very similar offer list. And he ended up, picking BC. Walbridge is kind of the same thing. I think he's even got a bigger offer list, but BC is going to have to beat out some big names. So this is going to be your chance for Bill O'Brien and his staff to go out and beat some blue chip schools, blue collars, not blue collar, the blue blood schools, excuse me, and win a recruiting battle. That's going to be a tough one. The other one is Carter Gooden. That's the other local recruit. He's number 2 in the state. He just got a new ranking on 247. And he is a defensive edge rusher who he's also blowing up. But I've heard things, and I'm going to put more stuff up on Eagle Insider soon about it. BC is in great shape with him. He's a kid originally from Canada. He's at Tabor Academy right now. I know the staff has done an excellent job in terms of building that relationship with him. But there's a lot of Big Ten schools that like him. And so that's going to be another battle. He is, you watch his film. He is electric, guys. This is a kind of defensive star that you want on your team. And he's local. So this is a big one. These two, Markey and Carter Gooden, those are the two names that you want to watch for. And BC's going to have to work hard for them. Will they get official visits? I think they will for both. I do. And then can they beat out these other schools? That's going to be a challenge. But I think, for offensive linemen, for instance, right? You look at what BC has done, even when they have been kind of middling without Bill O'Brien. They've been producing offensive linemen, whether it's Zion Johnson, now it's Ozzie Trapello, Drew Kendall. They have that history there. They can sell that. They can sell the local part. They're going to have, the revenue sharing part, I'm assuming, soon too. Carter Gooden, hey, this is Donovan Azaraku. He is going to be a first-round draft pick. Would you like to be like him? Come to Boston College. There you go. There's your pitch right there. I made it for you. So those are two guys that I think BC has to, really seal the deal. Getting one would be great. Getting two would be amazing. But those would really put that, BC sticking their flag in the state of Massachusetts, the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. That'd be a big deal. Now, in a moment, there's another position I want to talk a little bit about too, because BC could be going for 2 quarterbacks in this class. I'll give you the latest on Femi Babalola and what, could be going on there in just a moment. When the game tips off, the NBA action is just getting started, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game. So even if you missed the opening tip-off or you want to bet on a fourth quarter comeback, you can stay in the action. And if you're looking for a bigger payout, you can combine your live bets into a same-game parlay. I love using FanDuel's live betting features because it keeps every moment of the game exciting. Whether I'm backing my team for a late-game rally or picking a player to hit a clutch three, I mean, Derek White, that's a big one I love. I love getting my Derek White picks in. I never feel like I'm missing my chance on FanDuel. Plus, the app is easy to use, and when you win, you get paid instantly. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sportsbook betting partner of the NBA. Locked on Boston College, AJ Black here of Eagle Insider. Thank you all for who have subscribed to our channel on YouTube. And if you want another episode after this, check out Locked On Celtics. I was just talking about the NBA with the Celtics playing really well. You want to hear about Drew Holiday and Jason Tatum? Check out John Corrales. This guy is the GOAT of sports podcasting. Check out John on Locked On Celtics on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast. Now, we're talking about the BC recruiting, and you guys got the expert here. I'm a guy that has been really connected. I'm connected to the staff. I know the recruits. BC has 9 recruits right now, and they have one quarterback already, Corinne Berry out of California. I love this get for BC, and credit to the staff for getting him early because his recruitment's already blowing up. But I think they have done an awesome job of really solidifying that relationship. So I don't think he's really a flip candidate at all. But throughout this whole process, I've been told that there's a potential for 2 quarterbacks. Now, they're not just going to take any 2 quarterbacks. They're going to take Berry, and there may be one more. But other than that, if they don't land this other guy, it'll be a 1 quarterback class. They've got a good quarterback room. They just brought in Shaker Rising. They brought in Dylan Larnigan. But, hey, depth is great, especially the quarterback room. And the quarterback that they're looking at is Femi Babalola from Ravenwood, Tennessee. We've talked about him a lot on this podcast. So if you're an everydayer, you know this guy. He's been on campus a bunch of times. Jonathan DiBiase and the staff have visited him in Tennessee and Nashville. The visits have been flowing back and forth, and that's great because his recruitment is blowing up too. This is a guy that recently received offers from Tulane, NC State, Wake Forest. Like, he's got some good offers, and there's probably going to be more coming his way as well. But the staff has been on him. The staff has been connecting with him, and that piece is going to really help, hopefully, land him in the future. Now, Babalola, where are things going to go with him? I think watching for a visit this spring will be something that I think will be important to see. Can Boston College get him to, a spring practice? He's already been up. He was up to a game last November. He was up again this winter as well. This is, they have put in the work here. And you bring in Babalola along with Berry. And I'm just going to say right now, I am impressed beyond belief of where this quarterback room is going. Because in the span of 1 year, you have added or have landed commitments from, and I know some of you are very skeptical. I get that. You can be as skeptical as you want, and I'm not going to judge you for it. All the power to you. In the last year, Shaker Rising, they've landed Dylan Larnigan, Corinne Berry, Furian and Ferrara. And if they land Femi Babalola, they are set. Like, they've got enough. I mean, this is no longer just, grabbing a few guys, developmental guy here, developmental guy here. These are quarterbacks, all of them, that have already shown that they have the spark to be recruited by multiple Power 5, Power 4 programs and, do really well at their respective high schools. So I look at what they've done. Femi Babalola, if you add him, Boston College moving forward, that's going to be I mean, talking about the quarterbacks room, there's going to be a lot of potential here. And there's no easy answer on who's going to be the starter, who's going to be the backup. All of these guys, like I couldn't tell you. I mean, like I love Corinne Berry's film. I love what he's been able to do. Like his numbers are crazy. But when they play against, their ability to jump up to that power 4 level to understand reading defenses and all that good stuff, that's a different game there. That's a different that's a whole different, skill set. So I look at this and my big thing is Bill O'Brien. He comes in here. What is his position du jour? What is his position that you think of would be the position that he could improve the best? It's the quarterback room. And in 1 year, he has already flipped the entire room, built a bridge out to the future, and have really set up Boston College for success at BC's most important position. Now, none of these guys have played. We've only seen Grayson James, and he's a Halfley guy, and Thomas Castellanos, who's gone. That being said, all of these guys, all of these recruits feel differently than anything that we've landed at BC in the past 15 years. You go back and you look at the recruiting room of where Boston College was at, and it's tough. It's tough sledding. Whether it's Matt Reevy or Dennis Grossell or Peter Delaportis or Jonathan Montague, who's not even playing that position. These quarterbacks they're bringing in are polished, much more polished. I don't want to say they're polished, but they're at a higher level. And when you have good quarterback play, that helps you win games. So I would love to see Femi come here. I don't know how, as a, I'm not a recruiter, but being the second quarterback in a class might be a tougher pill to swallow. But I go back to relationships. The one thing that Bill O'Brien's staff does better than I've heard from a lot of, other programs around the country is this relationship building. Like these guys, these coaches know these players. They've had multiple meetings with them. That trust and that bond is something you can't break. So I'm telling you right now, I would not be surprised if Femi commits. I would love to see it because it would just be another addition. Like 2 quarterbacks in the same class, both that have Power 4 offers. That's great. So in a moment, let's switch things up. Let's talk a little bit about basketball. And I'll tell you where things are at about Saturday's game and give you a little bit more there. We'll talk all about that in just a moment. Welcome back. This is Locked On Boston College. I'm your host, AJ Black here. Thank you all for subscribing to our channel, and thank you all who have checked out Locked On ACC with Kenton Gibbs and Alex Dono. That's up on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. I also want to shout out my Eagles Nesters. I've been sending out messages to my crew here that are my everydayers. These are guys that love BC sports. They love getting messages. I send texts out daily about my thoughts about BC sports and some news, things that are going on. So I want to shout them out. If you want to become it and you want to join up and become an Eagles Nester, it's a text-based service. I send out videos. I send out texts. It's free for the first month if you use promo code Bill O'Brien Monster. I made my own promo code. I hope you guys like it. It's in the description of the show notes below. Now, let's change things up here. Let's talk a little bit about basketball, who played on Saturday afternoon. And BC, credit to these guys. They go out and they defeat Georgia Tech pretty significantly at home on Senior Day. Now, this season's over. And there's not really much more to play with. Basically at this point, you're playing for the ACC tournament, which is kind of sad. But I want to shout out these players because this group has not given up on this season at all. They're playing hard every single game. And this game was no exception as BC wins 69-54. They were in charge for most of this game. I think they deserve credit for their their second half. They played an excellent second half. And Earl Grant, he did what he did to this season, whether you like it or you don't like it. But two defensive masterpieces in a row for BC. So, hey, I'm going to take a win any way you can get it, because I look at it this way. You have a bunch of guys here. You had recruits. I heard Ben Ahmed, who's a top 100 recruit, was on campus for this. People showed up for this. Students didn't, but the fans showed up, and I heard it was pretty much close to sellout. This is good for recruiting, and you have to have something like this program cannot be a smoldering pile of ashes at the end of this year, whether you want Earl Grant to come back or not. Because if they just tank, all the good players, Fred Payne, Donald Hand, they all may leave. You may lose all your talented players, and you're just stuck at square one again. So good wins is good. It's good for the soul. It's good for your program. So this win gets you back into contention for the ACC tournament, which is just fun. I guess at this point, like, just can you get there? That would be nice. You have games against, like, I think Stanford's still on the schedule. You could beat them. So, it's the fourth ACC win, which is higher than what I put them at the beginning of the season. So, again, credit to them. Donald Hand is awesome. Fred Payne is awesome. These two guys are good. And Chad Venning, if you had a good team, this would be a guy that you guys all would love. He's a hard player. He's physical. Every game he's out there battling the bigs on the other team. And, like, I like watching Chad Venning play, so I just want to shout him out as well. Now, for the folks out there that are going, oh, but they won. Is this going to mean, it's a great win, but that means that they're going to keep Earl Grant? Well, I'm going to say this. The season's almost over. They're not making the NCAA tournament. They're not going to make the NIT. They're barely going to make the ACC tournament if they do. If Blake James is considering making a move, if he's made a list of other coaches, if they're really going down that road, and I don't know if they are or not, a meaningless, it kind of is meaningless, win at the end of the season makes no difference, and it shouldn't. If our staff, if our administration is really making decisions based off the end of the season games like this, then they're incompetent, because you just can't. Like, you saw from October to now what's gone on, and you had to have been able to evaluate what Earl Grant is and make your own internal decision of what you want to do. And what they do at the end of the season, like, unless he goes on this miracle run and wins the ACC or makes the NIT or whatever, this really shouldn't matter. Like, this game, like any game going on from here on out, unless it's a deep ACC tournament run, it's irrelevant in terms of that. Like, there's two buckets here. You can be really excited for your team, which you should be, and you can still say, well, at the end of the day, maybe Earl Grant isn't the right coach. They both can still be true. So I think this doesn't matter. I honestly don't. Now, other games going on this weekend. Women's lacrosse, they won their first ACC game of the year, beating Duke. Great win for the girls. We'll have updates on that up on Eagle Insider, so check that out. BC baseball lost their first game against a team named New Orleans, which I've never heard of this school, but they lost to them after a power outage on Friday night. But they went on to win Saturday, and as I'm recording this on Saturday, they're about to play the second game of their doubleheader because of weather. That happened. And then BC hockey won 6-3 against Vermont in a very tough venue. So credit to them as well. We will be back on Monday. This is Combine week, so we'll have Mitch on to talk about the Combine, recruiting news. There's official visits coming up. We'll be, announcements and things like that. Spring practices coming up. There's a lot to talk about. So thank you all who have subscribed. Thank you all who have liked us on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast. Follow me on Twitter at AJBlack247. For all BC fans out there, thank you who have made us your first listen every single day. And we'll see you all again on Monday for another episode of Locked On Boston College, your team every day.